Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you the World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
This is Night Dreams Talk Radio Network News, and I'm James Creechbaum. Methane emitted by humans is vastly underestimated. Researchers measured methane levels in ancient air samples and found that scientists have been vastly underestimating the amount of methane humans are emitting into the atmosphere via fossil fuels. The researchers indicate that reducing fossil fuel use is a key target to curbing climate change. Now, methane is a powerful greenhouse gas and large contributor to global warming. Methane emissions to the atmosphere have increased by approximately 150% over the past 3 centuries. How climate change reduced the flow of the Colorado River. The massive Colorado River, which provides water for 7 U.S. states, has seen its flow reduced by 20% over the course of the last century. And more than half of that loss is due to climate change, according to a new research. They observed that the global warming had led each year to a reduction in the snowpack, or the amount of snow that accumulates. So if there is less and less snow, it melts earlier and earlier each spring. With less snow covering the ground, the soil in the river basin was absorbing more sunlight instead of being reflected away by the snow. As a result, there is more evaporation of water in the basin. Storm Dennis enters history books as the second strongest North Atlantic extratropical cyclone, causes major flooding in the United Kingdom. Storm Dennis hit several Western European countries over the last weekend with very heavy rain and hurricane-force winds. Minimum central air pressure of 920 HPA was recorded on Saturday, February 15th, making it the second strongest North Atlantic extratropical cyclone since records began more than 150 years ago, just 7 HPA short of the all-time North Atlantic record set by the Brer storm of 1993. The storm left at least 2 people dead in the United Kingdom, dumped more than a month's worth of rain on South Wales, prompted the UK Environment Agency to issue a record number of flood warnings for one day, and caused widespread severe flooding across parts of the country. Mount Shasta cloud photo sparks UFO rumors. This distinctive disc-shaped cloud formation was recently photographed by a worker in the Cascade Mountains. Now, appearing as a bright orange disk in an otherwise pristine morning sky, this remarkable weather phenomenon certainly raised a few eyebrows when it appeared on February 13th. While some users claim that it could be a UFO, the phenomena is in fact a lenticular cloud. Lenticular clouds are stationary clouds that are shaped like a lens and normally develop on the downward side of the mountain or mountain ranges. They are most common during the winter months, and Mount Shasta is one of the places to spot them. Now, the images searches as another example of how something as simple as a cloud can be mistaken for something anomalous, with lenticular clouds in particular being among the most commonly misidentified. A UFO hovering above Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And here's the witness account of it. My daughter and I recorded a UFO last Thursday night in the sky to the west of our home. It was a sphere of light in the sky. 2 other light spheres appeared as well shortly after we began recording. The lights would fade in and out. White lights seemed to briefly shoot out from the other side and of the middle light. The light stayed in the same location until the military aircraft began flying toward it. The light started to fade more to the west after 9 minutes or so when the plane was flying toward it. We stopped recording when it wasn't visible. If I edit it to the shorten the clip, could I send something more into it? It talks about how the lights were on, orange, white, and green. Just another report that came in, and that was in Canada. Why solar storms are happening closer to Earth than anyone thought was possible. The spectacular solar storms that paint the polar skies in beautiful greens and pinks have a darker side. They have the power to wreak havoc on our electrical grid, communication systems, and satellites. Now, a new study suggests that the source of these solar storms is much closer to our own planet than previously thought. Earth is shielded by a protective bubble known as the magnetosphere, which blocks harmful solar radiation. But where the sun occasionally emits high-speed streams of radiation and with it intense magnetic field lines, they can strongly interact with our planet's own magnetic field. Next news break, top of the hour.
You thirst for some significance of the both dimensional kind. You enter a realm of spirit, of sight and sound and mind. Your radio is a cosmic doorway and your psyche begins to spark. When you tune in to Gary Anderson and Night Dreams After Dark.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. Well, we're trying to get Whitley on the line here, and we're calling right now, so hopefully he answers. And hopefully we have Whitley here.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing good, sir. Right now we got Whitley Strieber on. We're going to be talking about the coming global superstorm, and then we're also going to be talking about his latest book, A New World. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, fine, thank you.
Well, gee, a couple things I want to talk to you about. The coming global superstorm. It seems to be fitting in right now. I know that you and Art, co-wrote the books together. What made you decide to write the book?
The master of the key, who I met in 1998 in a hotel in Toronto. I never was able to find out exactly who he was because, unfortunately, he left the room before I realized exactly what had happened. But we had a conversation, and in that conversation, he laid out the danger. And Art read the key. In fact, we talked about it on Coast. And afterwards, he said, Whitley, we ought to do something more with this. And that was the beginning of Superstorm, because he had laid out what happens in the climate very clearly. And I began doing research into this and found that what he had said in this conversation appeared to be quite true. In other words, there were scientific papers that I found that suggested that it had happened like this in the past and that it would happen again. And that's why we started it.
Wow. I'm going to be honest with you. It's my Bible. I never got a copy when it came out. And, about 4 days before Art passed, I was talking to him on the phone. And I said, I think I'm going to go on eBay and get a copy of the book. And, and then it was really funny. I think I told this to you before when you were on. That following, I think, Tuesday, after he passed on, I went to go, to the mailbox. And here's a package from Pahrump. I open it up, and guess what? He sent me the coming global superstorm. And I'll tell you what, I am 68. I was like, at that time, 66 years old? I haven't. I didn't cry in my life since I was like in grade school, like first, second grade. I tell you what, my wife came when she saw me. She came into the studio. She goes, "Who died?" I was crying like a baby. I mean, it hit me that hard.
Yeah, he was something. He was a special man. He called me also about a week before he died, and he gave no indication of his plans or of what was going to happen. We spoke briefly and very friendly, and he said goodbye. I had no idea it would be for the last time.
Yeah, same with me. But I will say something about maybe 3-4 weeks before he passed on. I sent him an email, and, we were chatting, by, actually it was a text, I believe. I can't remember, email, text, or whatever. I sent him a message and about something, and he came back, and it was real weird. He goes, "I'm too old." It's just something that was just out of the ordinary, and it kind of like, I went and told my wife afterwards. I said, "Gee, I hope I don't feel that way when I hit 70 something."
Well, I don't know about that. I'm 74, and I have to admit that I've had a lot of life. If I was in a plane that was going down, I would really be very concerned, mostly for the other people, because I've done this. I know how Art felt. I know very well how he felt.
Yeah. I don't know. This book, I cherish it. I mean, of all these books I get from people, coming on the show, I could open up a bookstore. But I tell you, this book means so much to me because two things. One is from Art, and two is, I talk a lot on my show about the climate changes, earth changes. And a lot of people just don't want to believe something is going on. You guys, with this book, what is time? It's whatever you guys, put in this book is now happening.
Yeah, it is happening. Unfortunately, it's happening in England, like almost as we speak. They're starting to have the very kinds of storms we predicted in the book would happen as the North Atlantic current slowed down, and it is happening. It's actually happening, like that.
Yeah, I was talking a couple months ago on a radio station, one of the BBC, I can't remember which one it was, about, I was asking him, I said, that if the water slowed down coming from the equator, slowed down, you guys could go into a mini ice age or even worse. And they kind of brushed it off, but now it's slowly starting to happen.
Yes, it is. And, we're seeing it, and we're going to see more of it. I think it's going to fall together somehow. I'm not sure that it will fall together quite the way we predicted in the book, but the basic idea is there. And, when the book first came out, we were just scorned. I mean, the environmentalists scorned us because they were thinking in terms of a much slower process. The anti-environmentalists scorned us because we were talking about something they believed didn't exist. And, it's happened. It happens on Earth. It's been happening. I'll tell you when it started. It started just about 3 million years ago. At that time, there was no Central America, and there was a very powerful ocean current that went around the whole planet. And there were very mild seasons. Then Central America rose up in a rather spectacular earthquake situation, and that current was interrupted, and the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans became two different oceans. And when that happened, there was also at the same time an apparent